Welcome to Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. It is another rip-roaring edition of the full 80 minutes, your number one Rugby League podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and I do believe producer Sam will go out on Apple Music, don't we?
Yeah,
we do. So thank you very much for everybody who subscribes and listens, thank you very much for your lovely comments and your interaction with the show. Obviously, you've got myself, Mick the Game Caller Gledel. We've got the King, Show Me the Money. We've got Joe Me here.
The Prince
to the throne. And we've got Jimmy back. This saw a lot of people.
Why don't he get a...
I said Jimmy Mac.
Mystic Mac, sure.
Mystic
Mac's gone. We're not doing Mystic Mac anymore.
Yeah.
Have to get
it's Mr. Jimmy Mac, and if you didn't know, me and Jimmy know the championship. I had to get that one.
I like it.
But no, Craig, we've not seen each other for a couple of weeks. How have you been? What have you done this week?
Been to quite a few games actually, Mick, this week, so it's been a good week. I've really enjoyed the Rugby League. Been a busy week personally and busy week on the show me front, been to a couple of games, enjoyed it, watched a couple. We luckily got to watch the game yesterday. Cass St Helens. In person or TV? TV. Channel 4 thought they did a fantastic job, and I give a big plug to Mark Wilson. I thought he was fantastic on the commentary. And I enjoyed Kyler Moore, so I enjoyed the presentation of the Channel 4. The problem is, obviously, they've got no money, so that, there's no money going in to help the sport to do the production. But obviously, I suppose from the club's point of view, it's getting out there more. We actually watched it with a friend from Doncaster who wouldn't have watched it normally because he hasn't got Sky, but he had Channel 4, so we flicked it on. The game itself, I thought that Saints just did what Saints did again. Callum McClelland rang me after the game and he just said they just don't come off what they're doing and everyone else is coming off to adjust to what they do, and that's your problem. They're fit enough to do what they do for 80 minutes. The other clubs are not fit enough to do what they do for 80 minutes. So I suppose I could describe it as this: in most sports, if you're fitter than somebody, in most modern day sports, you've got a hell of a chance of winning the game. They've worked off that proviso, the confidence they have in staying in an arm wrestle because they're fitter. Without a doubt, you don't have to be an expert to watch it. Just watch how quick they are off the speed, off the line, and the way they are. So, listen, Cass bombed 3 or 4 chances. Young Broadbent looked outstanding. I give him a big rap. I thought it was fantastic for Cass. And at times there were a couple of bits of glimpses of him. But when it comes to making that 2-on-1, that 3-on-2, they just made the wrong calls every time. It's weird. Probably got 4 or 5 clean breaks. I bet Radders is frustrated because they had the clean break, they'd made the number, then they didn't execute the pass.
Well, they had some shockers in there. Jake Mamo did his famous, absolutely outstanding, and then just couldn't execute. I think most of the times, and then obviously the bomb try where they've got the try, no ifs or buts, it's a try and he's jumped.
I've not seen the game. I was at Batley Keighley. I've not seen it.
Was it for Imo? I think it was for Imo.
Yeah, it's shocker.
They passed it out, cut out pass, wingers clear. He's dived to hit the try, hand up. His elbow's hit the touch and it's been disallowed and cost him.
Yeah, Radders will be frustrated, coach. Yeah, because if you're ever going to have a chance against Saints, it will then
coming back from Australia,
just a couple of days on the Raz, relaxing. They had 3 or 4 out. It's a weird one because if they can put 24, whatever it was, they put on Cass, when I didn't think they played that well, and with the players out after hardest game I've ever seen, and then after travelling round, well, God help the rest, because the gap is bigger than you think. Now, you can counteract that and say there's probably 3 or 4 teams, so we're going to go for them, which they are. The gap, I mean, is probably on the others to them 3 or 4. That big problem. We went to the Leeds game on Friday, and oh God, how could I even start this? Leeds the same, probably had 3 or 4 chances to put the game to bed. There's a period, Mick, 25 minutes to go, when all were on the feet, and I don't know if I called to Joe and I said they've kicked early in the tackle count. Did Leeds, Austin, bang, third. What it turned Hull's forwards around, and they didn't want to do it. You could see they were thinking, oh my good God. And all of a sudden they zapped of energy. Leeds had the game for the taking, and again, just couldn't execute. Cameron Smith, what a break. Another break, couldn't break, Cruz leaving, break, didn't make the right pass. It makes you think, here's one for a lot of people watching, it makes you think when they do get the right pass. I don't remember that many times Maguire and Rob not getting the right pass. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
I can remember watching
the
for
execution
years.
was always there.
Yeah, and maybe the great Saints side, when they got in that position, you were never in doubt when they're that good that they're going to execute it. You just know they're going to. I think when you jingle teams about and then you're putting new people in and this people in, you look and you go, are they missing that pass because they're not trusting each other? Is it a bit of selfishness on some individuals? Is it them looking, I think there's a little bit of that. Do you get me? Because really, Leeds, I bet you Leeds, I'd love to speak to Rowan after that game and Radders and get him in a room and say, how frustrated are you? Because Hull went there and, hey, by the way, Hull, to get a victory at Leeds, based on a couple of injuries they've got and what they've coming back, they'll take that any time. There were periods in attack that looked very good. There were scrambling defence that were very good. My challenge for Hull had been, Mick, there was a lot of times when I thought they gassed. And again, we'll go back to Saints, where the bar is. If the bar's there at Saints making a modern day game, I often wonder why the others don't see this year in, year out. That Saints are a fitter and faster side than 98% of others. You might have one or two, but I watched it. There was definitely a period there where Hull absolutely were down to fatigue why Leeds come back in that game. Leeds make the crowd, the corporate, they're not shouting, they're not beating the drum, there's something missing. And I think it's obvious to see. Without being stating the obvious, we did say 2 months ago where we thought the 1-6-7-9 cohesion, that for some reason that's not working. Cruz Leeming played very well individually. Team-wise, I thought he missed quite a few passes, thought he missed quite to get the art. Do you know there were a period, quarter of an hour to go, where he started giving it really early to Arse, and then suddenly Austin and Caesar come alive. To be fair to them, they come alive because they started to get the ball. My question would be, why did it take 65 minutes and chasing a game to be able to... Now, we could have this argument 50 times, I don't know if what lads think. You speak to the coaches. Danny Maguire had said to you, I would always get that ball off the hooker. I demand it. Yeah. I said, but you're Danny Maguire. What happens if they're shouting at Cruz to get that ball when they want it because they've got numbers? Why isn't that happening? Is that the coach that should get involved? Is it the halfback and hooker should go and have a big argument about it? Maybe put them in a gym and say, sort it out between your ends. Because there's definitely something happening. And I've often said this to a lot of top players, Mick. They wouldn't get involved, and I don't know why. If I were coaching that team, this is only me, I think I'd bring them all in and just close door and say, right, you, and you, what's the matter? What's happening here? Why are you not getting no ball to your edge? Because if Austin's not getting ball, imagine being on the outside of Austin. You're getting nothing. If Caesar's not getting ball, Miley's never getting the ball anymore in the right positions. I've probably been critical of Richie, saying, is it his legs? Maybe not. Maybe it's the team. Maybe it's the team are not structured do you get me? To go through sets and then say, right, Richie, arrive. I think Leeds go into this week's game, and I think they've got, somebody's told me last night, they've got that, and then they might have Wakey. But I tell you what, Mick, Leeds need to get a victory quick. And seriously, I know people say this season, but you imagine going 3 or 4 defeats on trot start the season. Warrington, KR, Hull, and Saints, Wigan, they could be away.
Catalans as well.
It could be
2 big wins.
It could be what Jimmy maybe said a couple of weeks ago. You might be right. I find that hard to believe that to even think that if Leeds get in playoffs, it's a good achievement. I think it's horrendous.
When I spoke to Rowan at the Super League launch and I talked about these 8 or 9 injuries to key playing personnel, he, quite clearly said the first third of the season is going to be really difficult for us to navigate because we have players playing out of position, because we have this lengthy injury list. But I'm not quite sure in terms of the mitigation of that, because I did catch a little bit of that game on Friday night, and I thought, like you say, Craig, when Leeds had turned it around and were actually in front with 10 minutes to go, I thought Leeds will get that crucial 4th try here, and it's won, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I thought, we skip past the. We'll carry on with the the game, we skipped past the Saints one quite quick, didn't we? I think it's...
Right, well, what did you...
Go on, Joe.
Dive in, I'll dive in. No, the Saints get... comparing the two, it's like Dad said, I think the key's fitness. I think I can't... You've seen with other teams like KR this season, what's the big difference? Well, they just look 10 times fitter. I think, like you said, Hull, I think if Hull were slightly fitter, they'd be an absolutely brilliant side because they can execute these plays. They've got fast attacking rugby. Dwyer is running around like a madman, but in a good madman. It were going well, but then they just, like you said, I think they just struggle with fitness. And then if you look at that Saints one, they were just unbelievable. They're levels above in that. Whoever their S&Cs, I think Dad said in previous shows, they make sure their S&C are paid and one of the highest paid people for the job in the club. And I think that's outstanding. You can just see how much it's paid off for them. The fact that they've come from allegedly a few days in Thailand on the old Raz after winning what was rightly one of the biggest games of all time for them as a club. I think that's just brilliant. And what Alex Walmsley at 30 odd doing what he did, absolutely sadly dominating the Cass middle man of the match performance. Big Al, Big Al from, was it Batley, I believe, or was it?
Yeah, come from Batley.
Big Al from Batley has become one of the legends of the game at the prop position.
I think what you said there is brilliant. I think that assessment
usually is.
Well, that's fine. So, I like to give you toffee every now and then. I think that the assessment of Leeds is what we've said for quite a while, isn't it? I just feel that there's this lack of cohesion between the nine and the halves, and you hear over the years for a long time. I've heard Mark Aston tell the story about Lee Jackson and Gailey with Macca. The half has got to demand that ball. And every now and then, they'll have to accept the hook has seen something and they go themselves. But for me, and I don't want to be critical, it seems that Cruz feels he's got to do a lot more than I think he needs to.
And his argument might be that the two halves are
yes,
not.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. To play devil's advocate, I don't know where it starts. And I love that idea of him really working it out, because as a half, you need that. You want that extra half a second or extra 1 second. It's got to be quick. And Cruz sometimes will see things and go himself. And from the outside, you're thinking, that can't be right. So there's something not right there. And that for me is, I know Leeds have got other slight issues with personnel going on, but that's the core of it. How are you going to get the best out of Caesar and Austin? I still...
And Myler.
Yeah, and on the back of them, Myler, I still believe that Caesar and Austin have got some big performances in him. But we're not really seeing it because it's not working fundamentally, is it? And
listen, there were times, Jimmy. There were times when you should have gone round back. You went to lead. You should have gone lead, and you went to. It's disjointed, and it's because probably the love for each other's not there.
Yeah.
If you be honest, there's probably something there where them four just need to. They've all got. God, I'm saying this in a nice way. You probably look at Rowan. Would he have them four by choice, or it's because the caps and allowed him to? Is it not his choice? One thing for sure for Leeds fans, and a bit like this guy at Man United who's turned it around yesterday again. What's he called? The coach. How's he? I keep saying this and using it. How's he turned it round? I said this to John Bastian last night. I said, how's he turned it round, John? And John went, well, where are you going with it? I said, well, I'll tell you how he's turned it round. This is the reason Man United are now successful, right? Whether you like it or not, he had the bottle to stand up to Ronaldo. So think about what I'm doing. I'm running parallel.
Yeah.
He's gone to best player in the world, supposedly, and he's gone, bang, you're not good for this team anymore. Your legs are a yard short. You wanted all the ball. Gone. He's made Ratchford, is it Ratchford?
Rash. Yeah.
Ratchford.
Rash.
He's made him he's gone to him and he said, you're my man. This is what happens to a lot of coaches, Mick. You're my man. He sees him as being the best centre forward in country. And he's also said how lower confidence that lad one is going. Listen, I love you. You take this team and show us. And all of a sudden, Ratchford's now top scorer in country. One of the top scorers in country. He looks class. I think it probably needs a bit of that. It probably needs a bit of, I'll hang me washing on you. We're selfish. we talk about Cameron Smith. I'll say it again. It was outstanding. By the way, Cruz won as well. I'm going to give to Cruz. Cruz played really well. Cameron Smith won. Immense for me. I think is a standard. If it's true that Rowan didn't want to make that call, and by the way, Rowan, this is only what people said, so it's not off. It was about upsetting people, not upsetting the kicker. Reese Martin, not upsetting Ashanley, the leadership group, not upsetting Cruz. This, so we're trying to pacify that. Well, I said it last week and I'll say it again. Not for me. There's a standout one there, and it's Cameron Smith. It could be the loose forward for England. It could be the loose forward. He's just got that thing, and he's a leader. He's a player, and he's going to play a lot of minutes. When they didn't have him on in that first 20, there's a difference when Cammy's not on. There's a definite difference now when he's not playing. That's when the best players are. When they're not there, you realise. But again, I think Rowan needs to... It's some real difficult times, actually, because what's happened at the start of this season, Mick, and we can go on to the next game in a minute. People say it should start the season, it doesn't matter. I think it does. I think, let's say Wakey, and we'll go on to Wakey, because we've got a lot to say about this.
I apologise about my dad's phone. It's extremely unprofessional, and he really sorted himself out.
Sam, have you stopped it?
I feel I'm at a fun fair.
No, just turn it off now.
No, we don't need to stop recording. You can do Walk of Shame.
What's that ringtone?
It's embarrassing.
Who is it, Craig? Is it anyone we can get on show?
Right, how do I switch that off?
Top left-hand side, the wall button flicking down.
Carrying on?
Yeah, we're carrying on, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go on to Wakey and a few others making a minute, but I think it does matter. I think if let's say this, you can answer this, I want you all to answer this as honest as we can. If Wakey are 1 to 7 favourites now to go down after that Wigan result, to get pumped 60.
1 to 2, I bet. But yeah.
I bet them all.
The heavy favourites to go down Wakefield.
So let's say Wakey, unless they pull out some in signings, it next thing, and whether there's an hunger to do that, I don't know.
But I've said this about Wakefield for weeks, months now. The problem Wakefield have got is they've got this historic debt. They've got the loan repayments on purchasing the ground from the council. That is going to financially cripple the club. They've got the new stand going up, and the benefits of that aren't just going to happen overnight. That's going to have an 18-month delay before you see the benefits, which will help finance the debt. What is going to it's going to slowly engulf the club, and that's not me speaking out of term. We've had when Fafita were here. The money's not being thrown around like it was.
Well, Mick, we can let's go on to Wakefield game then.
Yeah.
You just said perfect. You just said something that's absolutely perfect. We all know that's going off. That's ground.
That there's no.
But what happens if Wakefield down, Mick? You said to me about 200. All they do is reapply next year.
I'll be brutally honest. If Wakefield go down, that's probably that door shut. That is probably that door shut.
That's changed from last time we asked, though.
No. Well, there's no door back up because you Wakefield will be in against a Bradford, a Toulouse, a York, a Newcastle, and I've got to be brutally honest. I don't see the attraction, and I'm sorry, we know we've got Wakefield fans here, and I'm not going to put them up against Bradford or whatever, but I don't see the attraction there.
Would they not be above them?
No.
Tell me why.
In terms of why would not a Wakefield?
The categories. Why are you saying a York and the
Wakefield?
Why would they beat Wakey?
Because of the criteria.
Because of the criteria.
Well,
Attendances.
Wakey are good.
No, they're not, Craig. They're not good.
Well,
Bradford had more than Salford. Bradford had more than Wakefield already this season. So you've got a situation.
Yeah, but you've named four teams there. Then you Bradford on the ground.
Okay. Look, I don't want to make this all about Wakefield, but I'm just going to say, in my personal opinion, Wakefield get relegated. They're in what we class as the middle tier, because don't forget these names, Super League and Championship, they're all getting thrown out of the window and everything's getting rebranded. So next season, 24, when everything goes live, they're in the middle tier. They're going to be up against, potentially, a Toulouse, a Featherstone,
but Toulouse,
a Bradford,
Toulouse don't outcrowd Wakey.
Toulouse have shown potential that they can definitely beat Wakefield on average attendances.
No chance.
Yeah.
100%, Craig, yes.
Prove it.
Toulouse in the Super League, they're getting 9,000 average.
At home.
At home, yes. At the Stade Ernest Wallon.
What?
Wakefield had only just over 4. Well, they had 4,000 and.
I'm challenging that, Sam. There you go, Sam, because I'm actually challenging.
There's no need to challenge anything.
I'm going to challenge out now. That's bollocks. Sorry.
No, it isn't bollocks.
They got 9,000 average and waking up 4.
Toulouse had more fans than Wakefield last season.
No,
yes.
no, you didn't say that. You've got to be back to what you said.
In average, yes.
Yes, you said 9,000 against 4.
Toulouse had more than Wakefield.
I thought Wakefield had a really big attendance on their last game against Catalans. I thought their average attendance.
What, you thought that was big? 4,000? I'm telling you now, IMG.
No,
I'm saying when Toulouse got that 10,000 crowd, that was obviously a big one and it helped their average. I thought that Toulouse were just above Wakefield on average, but certainly above them. And you've got to remember, you can't help but feel there's an appetite to get Toulouse back in that.
I don't think there was, though.
IMG are not giving teams based on average.
Well, the reason a lot of them don't want Toulouse against, or any French club against an English club, is that obviously they don't take away fans. So your Richard Doulis and all the ones who have been united over the years, and it's ridiculous.
They don't get.
Well, I'm saying that, and plus they don't have Sky.
Yeah, but I thought the criteria was against.
Here we go.
What was it, Toulouse?
Yeah.
Wakey.
22. Average crowd for Toulouse was 4,970.
No, keep that in. He's not getting rid of that.
Yeah.
You said 8,009, 9,000 average.
Wait, no, let me see.
For Wakey was 4,630.
Yes.
What I was saying, if you hear me out,
That's the most ridiculous cheer I've ever heard. You both.
I said we just got
will you hear me out? I was saying
potential's more.
Look, I'm not turning this into a big IMG debate, but the point I was trying to say is, in terms of being able to attract the big crowds, Toulouse have been there, done that, won the T-shirt. They've had the 12,000 crowds. They've had the 11,000 crowds.
You're miles off.
How am I miles off?
Oh, explain it. First of all, you said 8,000 against 400. Don't get out with that. Don't make any waves. It's there. You can't get out with that.
They do. Toulouse last year did have some big, impressive crowds in the Super League.
Average. Oh my God, it's like
he said the average.
No, don't try and do it because you're chewing him.
I said the average was bigger than Wakey. It's just bigger.
Look,
but Toulouse.
I know you used to a mate at home.
We're arguing.
But Toulouse it's potential as well.
It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
You turned it into who's going to take over from Wakefield if they come down. Well,
no, I didn't say who's going to turn over. I said, why would you think that the Wakefield wouldn't get back up? I asked you, why don't you think? Because you put Bradford, Toulouse, York, and Newcastle. What I was saying is potentially you would look at those clubs because those are going to be the strongest clubs. You look at the current top 5 clubs that get the money based on return on investment, and the grading and the pillars will match that, what we've currently got in Championship and League One, which is Featherstone, Bradford, Toulouse, York and Widnes. They are the top 5 clubs. Again, I don't get it though. What you say, Wakey have finished historically top 8 for last.
That goes out the window. Let
me finish.
It goes out the window.
You just said they average 4,000 fans. They do take away fans, certainly more than Toulouse would. Yeah. That'd be a thing. If they do sell Sky dishes in their area. There's no Sky in France, so why would Sky? Why would they want another French club in? And have 1.8 against them giving nothing to the people.
I never said.
The paymasters are Sky, so why would they want another?
My opinion is that there's the potential side. So obviously,
what potential for what though?
For growth. So York,
not TV because they don't got Sky.
They don't talk
Craig,
about.
I'm just saying.
Hold on.
Let him explain, Mick.
I think that different clubs offer different things. So York, they can't show that they can definitely get 5,000, 6,000 fans. But I believe York are in a good position because geographically, they tick a box. There's a little bit of growth. The stadium's great.
But Toulouse.
So York on the crowd, they've never averaged more than 2,000 this season. But there'd be a belief that if they get into Super League, that they can start to get those numbers and build more than what Wakey have shown. He's capped at 5,000 for a long time. Toulouse, I think the attraction there is, in my opinion, is that they believe that after Toulouse's first year in it and averaged at 5,000, that they can, if they were to back those seasons up and keep growing, they could get up to the 8,000 average. So I think they'd beat them in that. The money side and how much other clubs like the away factors is a different thing, but as part of IMG's idea of growing the game and having more clubs in different areas, I think Toulouse do tip the box. In my opinion, Toulouse beat Wakey in IMG's eyes.
I think miles off.
IMG had all. Sorry. But I think when we had the first IMG debate, a lot of this is what we argued about even then. I thought a lot of the criteria went against French teams. They had homegrown play. They chucked in a lot of things that were against French teams because I don't think at this moment until you figure out to get a French deal, there's no point in having French teams until they can provide some sort of monetary value to
the paymaster. And then if IMG had saying building something to take this package and take it to another TV deal, then you've got what French are using. If it's I don't know, it's ESPN, what's their national channels. But unless they add something to the
BN Sports,
and let's be honest, the viewing figures to watch Toulouse and Wakey get more viewers than Toulouse would on Sky.
On Sky, because the French.
And again, they're the paymasters. They're paying the money.
The French don't have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but they would. Wakey Cass, Wakey Leeds would get more than Toulouse Leeds, Toulouse things.
I accept that at the moment with the current TV setup, that's how it is. But I can only assume. I was left under the impression that when Toulouse left Super League, IMG were immediately, we didn't really want that to happen. That's how I felt about it. And I think that...
Where have you got that from, though?
That was on the back of some things I heard, as much as anything.
Well, I was at the meeting, and out of the current Super League, there was York mentioned in terms of the stadium and the facilities.
You can see that.
Bradford were mentioned because they are the best.
Historic.
Not just historic.
Crowds.
Bradford are the biggest supported club currently in the Championship. And London for strategic growth, geographical growth. Those were the only three clubs outside of the Super League currently who were pinpointed.
Look, have I got these?
And I'd have to say, if it's true that the only way you can ever become a Category A club is by having an elite academy, we know Bradford's is currently under review, that then makes it very difficult for Salford to get an A, Leeds to get an A, Featherstone to get an A, Widnes to get an A, and Toulouse to get an A. That only leaves in the Championship the three clubs, Bradford, London and Newcastle. And all three of those clubs should be absolutely commended because during COVID and during pre-COVID, Bradford, London and Newcastle, they're the clubs that have invested heavily in that youth.
Do you know what I think? The only
argument there is that they took away how many clubs. I think a load of fan argues against us when we make comments.
No, let's get it right. Lee got rid of theirs. Salford got rid of theirs.
Okay.
No one had any academy taken away.
Okay.
They got rid of theirs.
That plays.
Widnes got rid of theirs. Widnes got rid of Widnes got rid of theirs.
Yeah.
Widnes got rid of theirs.
Here's one for you though. And back to the Wakefield game at Wigan, right? So they get beat 60, and Wakey produce some of their own. It's quite weird when you've said, I'm just laughing there. If these all know the criteria, it's quite interesting because say if one of the criteria is youth, it's very clever as some championships. I've noticed, I'm not mentioning, there's a championship playing a lot of youngsters. And are they doing that on selection or are they doing that in ticking the box? Could they be that clever that they go, well, at the end of the year when it's all divvied up and they go, how many youngsters homegrown you playing? You go,
well, if they've come
40 appearances mine. That could go in a criteria. It's even cleverer for the club who I think's done it.
York.
I'm not saying it.
No. If they are homegrown players, if they're homegrown players, Craig, if they're homegrown players, then yes, that is gonna. Like we know for competitiveness on the field, you've got to finish in that top four to take that competitiveness.
I'm just saying, there's a clever bit. I've just sussed and thinking, well, it could be clever that. Back to the Wakefield game.
If it is York, I'm not saying they haven't thought that, but it'd probably be 85% that they've only got 14, 15 fit players.
I get it, but they also could be clever. Anyway,
look, moving on.
I like it. If it is Wakefield. So
they're in dire straits. They're in dire straits. We knew they were going to be in dire straits, and it don't get any easier. They've got Huddersfield on Friday night. Huddersfield obviously lost to Warrington. We'll move on to that. But look, Mark Applegarth's task, it's in effect going up Mount Everest in slippers and a dressing gown.
Do you know what?
I'll call a spade a spade.
I've never heard that one.
I'll call a spade a spade. Based on what I know and what people from Wakefield tell me about the finances, and there's this huge mountain of debt because of them buying the ground from the council, and there's going to be these monthly repayments that are going to cripple the club.
Plus the Super League payments, what they all owe.
Yeah. Well, and again, I did ask the RFL about clubs forbearing the COVID money. The RFL said no one's asked for that yet. But I know, because I go to enough games and I'm in chairman's boxes and they're all talking about forbearance because they can't afford the COVID payments. So who knows what happens on that. But look, facts are facts. Wakefield, they're not in good health. And like you say, Craig,
listen, this is on the pitch. It was where I see Waking. It'll be interesting for Wakefield fans and people of Super League fans. Is A, they didn't go in with a big enough squad or to do this injustice. I believe they're playing on less the cap, which, if they are, that should have been. If you'd have said it right at the start of the year, if Michael come out and said, right, I'll tell you what, we're playing off a 1.4 cap, and that's risky. That's risky because we're potentially favourites to go down, but we're also playing off 300 and 400 grand less than the average cap. Some caps 600,000-700,000 less. So I'm giving these two guys who are both young lads. I brought Mark in. Mark saves a wage because Mark would on a wage anyway.
Correct.
So I hear Mark, I'm only giving Mark another 15k.
Yeah.
You get me? So I've got a coach for 15k. That's it, because he was already on the salary. Bring in 40, whatever 40's got. So I've got 2 members of staff plus whatever other staff's there. So my coaching bill is not that much. So I've cut corners there as well. So I've cut corners on the pitch, cut corners there. But we are doing the stadium. We're doing. I think if Michael explained that to people, unless he might have done it, and Michael might be big enough to answer it, instead he might say, "Oh no, we did explain that we're going to go that way. We are playing off lesser cap. We didn't tell them too much. We don't want the fans to get disinterested and completely disheartened that we're going to get relegated." But I still think that saying that is the honesty of it and saying, listen, these are. Or, this is one of my big question all along, did they genuinely think that they had enough? Now, I'll be honest with you, I hope I'm not throwing my man forward because we, look after
What
Ford.
stages you thought they had enough?
Well, no, I'll explain it. At the start of the season, I certainly never. And I made it clear to everybody. When I watched the Leeds friendly, you point to it on, there's not an element.
Pointing at the camera, which suggests the show that...
Yeah, I'll explain to you. When I watched the Leeds friendly, I said, I've got confidence in them that they can pull this off. I got a lot of sticks saying you changed your mind from saying they were going to get relegated. Listen, maybe I got the Leeds thing, a bit of a thing, and didn't realise, A, where Leeds were themselves. Do you know what I mean? I was probably thinking, God, that's a great result against Leeds. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just not a bad result because Leeds are not that. Do you know what I mean? But I did make it clear to James and to Mark that I thought they were well short as a friend. That was as a friend saying it. Be interesting now, Mick, because I think Michael's got to come out with some guidance and some direction. And I think if Michael, and there's a rumour, and I hope Michael puts this right, we all want him to. I've had 10 years with Michael. I find him, he's been very, very respectful towards me. Never had a crossword. I used to love the fact, people said he caught the media too much when he was winning and didn't do it as whatever. I didn't. I actually
it come off social media.
I saw a bloke,
because
he got too engrossed in it. He learned his lesson. But I think Michael's been a credit for Wakefield and a credit for the game, and actually a fantastic throughout. Your problem is he hasn't been coming out lately as the Michael who did before. You're not hearing. A bit like Gary at Leeds. You probably need to be telling the fans what's happening, where we're going with this. And I think if Michael comes out and says, listen, have we made a gamble here by trying to get the facilities right before we've done this? Yes, but I think now, here's my big fear. If you're going to walk away from the club, or you even, and there's rumours, there's little things happening in Rugby League that Michael's got to a stage where he said, he has said it numerous occasions, somebody's got money, they can take this tomorrow. He said that.
It's told me, it'd sell the club tomorrow for £1. But the problem is, you sell the club for £1, you're taking on this historic debt. And I don't want to worry Wakefield fans, but facts are facts. I'm not aware of the absolute intricacies of the loan from the council, but from what I have heard, it's over £20,000 a month.
Well, listen, so we get that. So if Michael comes out and explains to people, as a business, this is where we're going with it, but by next year, we will have a new stadium, we will be applying for a Super League licence, which we think we've got a chance of getting, because we think we've got a better chance than what you just said, Bradford Toulouse. That's the gamble we've made. Yeah. We're gambling left. We're not gambling on the field. We thought we might be all right on the field, but ultimately, unless we make some big changes quick, I don't see no one else sinking in with Wakefield. I said on this show 10 times, Wakefield need to pull somebody down with them. I kept using this word. Somebody said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, they need to drag somebody. I've only watched 2 games, Mick, but I don't see anybody
You see, my bottom...
Who do they drag with them?
I still go back to my
You could say League, couldn't you? Would you say League?
Yeah, I've got my bottom four were Wakefield, then Lee, then Salford, then Cass. And everyone attacked me, the Salford fans, but I'd like to think that game on Thursday, Joe's going first half. Oh, look at this Salford.
Unbelievable, the first half.
Yeah, but it's an 80-minute game, Joe.
I get you, but
it's
the
an 80-minute
signs are
game,
there,
Joe.
aren't
Joe,
they?
it's an 80-minute
I
game.
agree,
No, I'm not picking on you. But no, look, my bottom four are Lee, Salford, Cass, and Wakefield to go down. So I think those are the clubs who Wakefield need to drag in.
Lee of a team, I think. But
Lee are competitive. They've just gone to Catalans and been competitive. Yeah. Lee were competitive against Warrington, and it looks like a brilliant Warrington so far.
Well, Derek was on social media last night. He was teasing that there's another big signing on the way. So,
and we did say this, on the Super League preview.
That Lee would strengthen.
We did it. That's what we said.
Oh, look,
Deggs is capable of going 3 NRL players. See you later. Bang.
And I think that's what Derek's probably done based on them first 2 games. We're probably lacking
strike.
Yeah, and if it's right, there's something coming. I'm not saying NRL because I've not spoken to Derek about it. I only saw his cryptic tweet.
You couldn't. Could any of us see Wakey coming out and buying 3 or 4 players?
I think you're right. I think from the close season, it's been apparent. I think as soon as we started building the stadium, in my head, Wakey were just trying to get themselves in a situation that when it comes to next year, unless they pulled off a minor miracle and escape relegation, they're just trying to make sure that with the academy stadium,
they've got enough ticks.
That they've got enough to just pip Bradford if they perform on field.
Or York.
Or that IMG aren't that interested in the French team, because that is obviously a split opinion, and they just sneak back in. I think that's where their focus is. I think what you've said is...
Derek's comments, but Derek put, at the moment, we've got that many boxes ticked. There'll be 20 people in Super League. He said, make the league bigger. And
they will make the league.
And I don't mind. You know
what? That's what they're going to do.
Well, I think that's the long-term plan to have
two conferences of 8. Yeah, two conferences of 8. That's the long-term plan.
But
I've said it on the show.
Derek has announced yesterday. I missed the player announce. He's said. He's doing another band night. He's on the thing. He's
the king. He's just the king.
He's going full throttle and he's going for it more than
he is. And you know what? I admire him for it because what he gives the game. But it's very interesting tactically. If Wakey have gone that, and Michael's again not come out and said that.
Right. Let's play devil's advocate here, and I'm not saying any of this is true, but let's just assume Michael has jumped into the future and he realises that these monthly payments are going to cripple the club and the club cannot afford them. Or the only way the club can afford them is to take the Sky money and spend less. We know IMG from 24, which is where it goes live next year as the dummy run, there is going to be a salary cap ceiling which is going to stop historic clubs, and I'll use Wakefield because anybody in this sport is not daft, they're not thick. They can pinpoint your Hull KRs, your Salfords, your Wakefields as the clubs historically that have not spent the full cap. We know it's different now, we know Hull KR are, but historically, Hull KR, Salford, Wakefield.
I'd always be shocked when you say Hull KR there, Mick. I'd never challenge you last time. I'd like to challenge you.
So you're telling me Hull KR, when they got relegated, and then they've been in champ, you're telling me they were still spending full camp, every available
probably
pound
just bad recruiting.
All right, fair enough.
And I could find that out for you, but I would say it's just very bad recruiting because...
we're going over a 5-year period.
I know when Galea and all them were there, when they had that team with Morgan, I know they were definitely spending cap then. I certainly know when Willie Mason and them come, they were spending cap then because Mason were more than half a cap. So I do believe that KR probably did.
All right, okay. Well, look, I'm just saying.
Probably just got it bad.
No, but IMG have actually stipulated to be a top tier club from 25 onwards, there is a salary cap ceiling. You get X amount from Sky or Channel 4 or TNT Sports, who were rumoured to be in. TNT Sports is now the new name for BT Sports after the Disney buyout, which is great news. That's the rumour on the street. TNT Sports are interested.
Sam, can we have some big?
There's no exclusive about that. It was in the. It was in the. It was in the Sunday Times yesterday.
I'm not surprised. That's amazing.
It was in the Sunday Times yesterday. BT Sports at the end of this year will merge with Disney. It'll become TNT Sports, and the are looking to increase their sporting portfolio.
Can I just say that's Mick Gledel exclusive?
They're
Don't be
gonna
copying him.
have-
It's Mick who's got.
Well,
Because at the
TNT
minute-
Sports in America is the second largest sports channel in American
but
sports.
Joe,
Brilliant.
what this article said, and it was with the executive of TNT Sports in America, they've currently got the Saturday afternoon kickoffs BT Sport, which is now going to be TNT Sport. They're going after Sky. They're keeping the Champions League. They're going after more packages for the Premier League. But it also mentioned they're going to retain the Rugby Union and a number of other sports of other interests, of which tennis, cricket and Rugby League were mentioned.
You know, he's a good one on that. That's really good, by the way, Mick. Thank you for that. I know you've.
I'm not saying
I know
TNT
you've
Sports
done
are coming in and pumping the money into Rugby League, but
Well,
the
I've seen
fact
the
that
headline
Disney
now.
have come
Gledel
in,
says
it's another player, it's another
Rugby
media
League
player.
safe.
It's another media broadcaster.
They only clickbait you.
No, it's not clickbait.
it's real.
For
So what I wanna say to you,
for
mate, is
anybody
my-
that knows me, I go to the shop every morning and I buy the papers.
Well, no one's arguing with you.
It's
Mick.
very interesting
We
what you're
agree,
saying
it's
because
amazing.
here's one for Rugby League, and I think that's.
Can I mention the email from Channel 4 or later
in a
on?
minute? Yeah. He's.
We've still got half the games to
No,
go
no,
through.
no,
Oh,
we'll
don't
go
matter
through.
about that. We're talking. This is what the fans want. They want this. They want this debate.
It's Rugby Union at the moment, club-wise, is in disarray.
Correct.
Somebody rang me on Friday, not mentioning his name, and he said that Leicester team, the great Leicester Tigers, the richest club in the sport of rugby union, or one of the oldest custodians,
The skin.
are looking for £30 million.
Yeah, the skin.
Right, which is crazy. So the club, the game. Now, if there's ever a time, I'm not quote the chairman who said it, but one of the best things I've heard in all my years in thing, he said to me, you know one thing about Rugby League, Craig? And I'm not doing his voice because thinking,
Is this a Super League chairman?
yeah, he said, us working on low budgets all them times, when it's the fan, one thing we've got in our favour is we can swim in the little end. We can swim with the sticklebacks. We don't need to be near the koi cart. You get me? We don't. And that was 5 years ago. I listened to this about Rugby Union and I'm thinking, they've been used to, the caviar. All of a sudden, Little Rugby League have managed to survive anything. Could we come from the ashes down? And
We
go,
are with the cockroaches.
Well,
With the cockroaches.
can we?
We've survived COVID. We might be asking for forbearance on the COVID loans.
Could we survive everything, right? And all of a sudden, could Rugby League now be in a strong position? Because if you can survive all this, and by the way, Mick, the bounce back loans, Rugby Union will have, there'll be some fair ones of them, what they borrowed.
Go back to you.
So I was saying is, could we survive the everything and come back strong? I would say so, yes. And the reason I'll say yes is, again, what we said, we level playing field. We're a survivor. We're definitely a surviving sport. If the money does come into wanting sports, I think the way Rugby League needs to do this, here's one for IMG. By the way, somebody from IMG, I think, spoke to Brett the other day, and Brett said, the guy who I spoke to all them years ago,
Brett.
Brett, my friend.
Yeah, but Brett who?
Yeah, Brett, a friend of the show.
What's
Brett
his
Norman.
surname? Brett Norman. There we
That's
go.
not a clue. That's like saying my
So
friend Joey.
Brett Norman, no, I'm not, because I don't want to drop the names in, but anyway, the guy who I spoke to all them years ago from IMG who asked to speak to me about Rugby League, thought I'd give him an honest view. He said, they're going to try and get somebody on the show. That we'll have a look at trying to get somebody from IMG to come and do it. What I would be tipping them up is this, Mick, and I spoke to a sports brand last week about one of the players who they might be sponsoring. And I said, what do you see when you see Rugby League? And he said, and he said something, and it's been on my mind for 3 days, and I'm thinking, right, modern day political sporting brands have got to do everything right. So we're going to try and even do this, we'll do this politically correct. And we'll not say, you dare even say anything, dare you? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You sit back sly and say, oh, right. But really, we all sit there and go, you daren't say too much, right? So they're wanting, let's say brands now are wanting even mountaineering, walking, cycling. They're selling a lot more branding stuff on that than they are fundamentally the old-fashioned Rugby League or Rugby Union. Rugby Union and Rugby League are known as a male sport, especially Rugby League, historically. And they said they wouldn't go into any branding with any sporting rugby team or anything unless you had the women's at the side of it. It has to be. That's in the contract now. So they can't approach any
Correct.
men's sporting brand club and say, yeah, unless you've got... Now, I thought about this, and then what does Rugby League stand for if you're a massive company sporting, what do you think rugby toughness?
Yeah, what you mean? What are the things associated with the brand?
Are you talking
Toughness.
about the sport here, or the
They
actual
look at us.
demographic?
I don't mean us. Forget about us.
Yeah,
We all know rugby league. Somebody from outside.
It's not northern, tough,
Athleticism.
honest, working
Anymore?
class. They're the
Athleticism.
four things.
Athleticism, I've never heard that.
No,
I like it.
it's not. It's tough. It's toughness.
No, Jimmy,
That's-
there is athleticism.
I
we
know
know.
there is athleticism, but outsiders view it as being tough northern, no nonsense.
Yeah, I get it.
That's
I agree with you, Jimmy. So we've got that right. We could actually revamp that, and I think IMG are going to be clever here and go along with. So if we then say, what's the positives, Mick, on rugby league? There'll be nobody better in the country than selling this than you if you come off your phone.
I was just getting the email up.
Yeah,
Sorry.
is if you look at it and you go,
Inclusivity.
well, no, somebody. I gave it to somebody
We're
yesterday. and
amazing at all that.
He said to me, wait a minute, and he said, let me tell you what rugby league have done. Go on, I want you to do this. How many things do a sporting brand will do it between us?
Well, rugby league clubs are the heart of the community.
That's a great one. That's the first thing he said.
Yeah, because what
And
people don't
a
realise...
lot of the communities that have been absolutely took apart years ago by
Yeah.
the miners' strike
Political
historically.
change, yeah.
Tory governments, yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's be brutally honest, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's my
though?
opinion.
We're rugby league politics, not actual politics.
Listen, just so you know, I'm in
Wait for
North
general
Yorkshire.
election time
Oh,
for
there's a
that
few... I'm detecting
Anyway, we don't.
Tory.
No.
Well, the way you're dressed, Joe, you're definitely Tory. Look at this. He's off to Fox Hunt later.
Look at this.
So Joe's off to Fox Hunt. I'm off to Food Bank.
So if you say it stands for working class and values,
It does, yeah. The social,
and it
social
does,
impact.
does loads and loads of an amateur game and junior game.
Exactly, yes.
Probably as good as
Helps
most
so many
sports, we all
people.
agree.
Yeah, and disability.
More,
and women's-
Craig.
Disability,
Yeah, it's one of the most
Fantastic.
inclusive sports out there.
out there.
With wheelchair rugby league and PDRL rugby league and women's rugby league, I'd argue
We're pioneers. Rugby league is pioneers.
Pioneers.
My
So this is the new branding for IMG. Go on, Joe. Sorry.
My thing is, to be fair, in the past, I've argued not against going that way, but we have gone super inclusive, pushing PDRL, pushing women's. Our women's game's better than most other sports. We're flying with things, and I've argued in the past it's not shown success. It's amazing that we're doing that, but it's not actually conjured itself into success, i.e. money-wise and TV deals as of yet. So if now, after all these years of being that amazing, that politically, we are one of the most if you actually look at the nooks and crannies of our sport, we are the most politically correct sport. Run RFL as a thing, run it very politically correct.
Correct.
So if
Why
it
we're not
finally,
selling that? Why we've always been fighting that?
No, we have sold that, but it's not worked yet.
Right.
Craig, can I
No,
just-
no, we're not good enough.
It's not monetised.
Can I?
Yeah, it's not monetized.
Can you just hear me out? Can you just hear me out? Because this does slowly go into this. So we were invited to Channel 4 a couple of weeks ago. The new offices are in Leeds. Obviously, Channel 4 do a great job covering the Super League. We know there's no real monetary value to the clubs or the sport itself. They pay for the production costs. That goes out on free-to-air TV, and it gives Rugby League some much-needed exposure. I was asking about the social demographic of the fan base. Channel 4 are more than happy to show the games currently. They want more games, but it's getting them to actually pay to show more games, to put pressure on Sky Sports. So this is what I got back. Thank you for your email, Mick. As Rugby League fans, we all want to see more games on TV, especially on free-to-air TV. It's the most entertaining team sport in the world, and the exposure to new audience is important. However, it's worth remembering that no one sport has a right to TV exposure, and Rugby League is in this boat. The question all commercial broadcasters, like Channel 4, like Sky Sports, ask before they sign a TV rights deal is, what is in it for us? Broadcasting companies generally exist to make money, apart from public service broadcasters like the BBC, and they will sell advertising or subscriptions on the back of their investment in a sport. So Channel 4, Sky Sports, they invest in Rugby League, they can then sell advertisement and get their money back, potentially even make a profit on it. Yeah. Broadcasters are smart. Advertisement agencies are smart. They know any potential or existing audience better than the audience itself. Their ages, the gender, location, the social economic status, how much time they spend watching, and more importantly, how much they have to spend. The same applies with advertisers, if not more. If they are buying advertising space during a live rugby league game on Channel 4, what's the return on investment going to be to that advertisement company? Is the rugby league audience big enough, wealthy enough to justify that advertisement spend? Will the rugby league audience ultimately deliver significant return on investment? So yesterday, it was Castleford versus St Helens.
What viewing figures did we get yesterday?
We haven't got them yet. So what this is saying, and please remember Rugby League's commercial appeal, this is to advertisement and broadcasters, is ultimately determined by the quality of its audience rather than the quality of the product on the field. So what they're saying is, the product on the field could be absolutely amazing, like we know it is, but fundamentally getting that cut through and getting more money into the sport is based on people like us and people like our lovely viewers on the full 80-minute podcast investing and watching live sport. So the main reason Rugby League doesn't enjoy a greater presence across broadcast media platforms like Channel 4, like Sky Sports in the UK, and doesn't really have many blue chip sponsored brands,
Correct.
is down to the demographic of the fans that watch the sport, and more importantly, are prepared to pay to watch the sport and deliver a return on investment on any advertisement spend. Sadly, it is this demographic that hinders the sport and will continue to do so more than the athleticism of the players, the nature of its governing body, the strength of its clubs, or the importance of the sports to its communities. These are all harsh facts, Mick, but all are completely true. What Rugby League needs to do is it desperately needs to increase its demographic in terms of ability to spend money and deliver confidence to broadcasters that return on investment advertisement spend can be obtained. So what this basically says is what we've known for all along. The average demographic of somebody who watches Rugby League isn't wealthy, is working class, doesn't have a lot of disposable income, and that is going to filter through now with a cost of living crisis. So we are probably at a worse point than we've ever been in terms of going to Channel 4 and Sky Sports and saying, we've got this great on-field product. Sadly, we know we've got a great on-field product, but if the penny's dropped, Craig, what the broadcasters are saying is, yes, it's fine having Leeds versus St Helens and it being 21 points to 20, or Wigan and Warrington going for it. Sadly, if the demographic that tuning to watch it aren't wealthy enough so we can go to Ford or Rolls-Royce or Rolex watches or whoever to buy an advertisement space, then your broadcast deal's coming down. It all makes sense to me. It was a really enlightening experience at Channel 4.
The only way...
So the question is, and the last paragraph of the email is, our current demographic actually hinders us. So we need to attract new fans with wealth. Are we past the point of no return? I don't think we can do that.
I don't only know fans with wealth, but probably youth. I know, obviously, that, but I think more youth than anything. 'Cause I don't think our average age is a 60-year-old family.
Disposable income you're on about.
Yeah.
Who's got disposable income?
Age, and then with youth normally comes parents spending money on the kids, that the things they're into, them kids gaining more money and spending money. I think the disposable income comes with lowering the average age of a Super League fan.
It's quite a sensitive debate.
It is, but it's easy. It isn't sensitive.
It is sensitive, Craig.
Disagree.
Because what they said is, you watch a Rugby League game, the adverts will be for McDonald's, Burger King, Greggs. You watch a Rugby Union game on BT Sports, it is your Rolls Royces, your Bennett's Homes. You know, you can see a distinct correlation where the advertisement spend is a hell of a lot more for a Rugby Union broadcast, and then that filters through to the RFU.
I disagree with you. I think the international they do, but not on a Premiership Rugby Union game.
No, there is. I've done it, Craig. I did my homework. You watch them advertisements on a Rugby Union broadcast compared to Rugby League.
But I'll challenge you on this.
No, please do.
I'm Channel 4. what they're saying. Let's say the average person who watches rugby league is on an income, let's say £35,000, and they've got this, that.
They've not mentioned.
No.
Yeah.
But this is what they're saying.
Yeah.
They're saying that is that it might be from. Let's try and put a pinpoint. It's probably from Halifax, because that's in the Lancashire and Yorkshire. You put there, and this is what they're saying. Right. This is where I think the restriction of the cap doesn't help us. So I'll give you. I'll try and help you with a parallel of what I'm saying.
But how does the salary cap affect?
I'll tell you. So if you go to Tats, horse racing sales where I go and Coffs. Here we go. And the Tats average for the sales is 108,000. So Tats have been doing record averages. So from the front, it's the best thing ever to sell a horse through the sales. It's mad. It's gone mad. The only currency at the moment that's still making loads of money. Okay, but what you don't do and look at it is that average is held by the top 20. The 160 averages 25. But then there's 20 horses that go for 2-3 million. Yeah? So refer that back to Rugby League. We have a cap system that doesn't allow us to attract the people you're saying. Because let me tell you, if Leeds Rhinos and Warrington and another 3 clubs were allowed to spend 3 or 4 million, our person you're on about would be a totally different person, because the experience would be so good. Because you bring world-class players in, which then would open the game up to people. When you've probably not been Leeds enough. You watch Leeds car park on a Friday night, and I've done it. There's not plenty of Range Rovers and Bentleys. Son.
I was going to say Leeds is
you go have a look. If you want to know what Leeds do corporate, let me finish. Leeds, that person you're on about, Leeds would bring the average of what they're saying up like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. I agree.
There's billions of pounds. I know at least in that room we go in, there's 3 people in that room worth 150 million alone who actually would bring that money is coming into it. The people they're saying who are not in the sport are, again, the level playing field, the 1.8 spend, will not take that average up, because you're not allowed to spend more than what is allowed in the game. Now, I'm not saying that's not a good thing, I'm just being honest.
But say
if you want the rules,
earlier, isn't it? That's
get Channel 4 to come and go and sit at car park at Leeds. Let's see all they want. If you want to see what they advertise, I tell you what, if Range Rover, let me finish.
Like
if Range Rover advertise us, because of what?
Yeah, honestly,
because we're always on our because we'll always work to the lowest denominator.
Craig, I love you. I love you like a dad. I love you like a dad, but
go on, then.
I've got to disagree.
Dad, brother,
no. What are you on about? You must be at least 20, 30 years on me. I love you like a dad. I love you like a dad, Craig, but I've got to disagree.
Because you've no offence. You probably sat there thinking from where you're at. I'm on about if you go Warrington. I went to Warrington. I'm not mentioning it's not fair. Last time I went to Warrington, Carl Fitzpatrick introduced me to their main sponsor. And the company who came over said, we want to do everything with this game. We want to get involved. They were absolutely passionate. What's stopping us from doing this? Most of the time, it comes down to the cap and the game day experience. A lot of the things that have been historic holding the game back. Going to lower clubs who were spending 1.4. Going to, I spoke to a young player the other day who said, I want to go to Australia. I said, why? He goes, well, how can you get up for going to some of these games? And I went, so that, I always think that, if you let's say now, if you went to what they're on about there, if we went to
they're talking about the demographic of the sport, Craig.
If we went to an 8-club Super League tomorrow, okay? Right. I'm not going to name them because
basically, fundamentally, how do we attract more wealthy fans?
Well, that'll do it.
I don't think the salary cap is the answer. I think we've got to get clubs in new areas. Newcastle would be one for mine. I think Newcastle probably has a bit more wealth than, say, a Wakefield or a Castleford.
Whoever goes into Newcastle, you can't do that on a cap. To get the players to go Newcastle, you need to bring, Jonathan, you need to bring players of that magnitude to get the going. How can you set the light? You can't set it alight.
To get what I know what you're saying.
I just feel, Jimmy.
Look. The advertising space on TV is about the audience watching it.
Correct.
But what Craig's talking about is how do we even get that changed? And you've got to change it at the top first. He's suggesting one way that to get more wealthy people, and really, we're talking about eating into the rugby union audience and trying to get some of them to switch over. And like Joe says,
I'd agree with that.
Get more, and we've talked about it for ages, get more young fans in. So when younger people get involved in the sport, increasingly in working class areas over the last 20 years, the younger people are the ones who tend to leave those areas and become, earn more money than the parents might have done because the opportunities to go to university or even start careers. So these are different ways that will lead to getting a more disposable income audience.
The chains that have been on our game for years need to be took off, honestly. To attract what they're saying, Channel 4 were honest there. They could have come out and said all that in 10 words. They could have said, right, you need to lift the game.
Well, they're not going to come out and say to attract the audience who watch it as skink Northerners. Well, effectively, that's what they're saying.
Whether this is true.
Effectively, they're saying
whether this is true,
your
right?
demographic is skink Northerners.
Whether this is true or not, right? Nike, 4 or 5 years ago, showed an interest to come into our sport. Okay? The club that they showed an interest in went to the board meeting and said, what is it worth for us to bring Nike into Super League? And he sold it as being, how good would it be that the number one sporting brand in the world want to get involved in Rugby League in sponsoring this, and this, okay? And he said to the others, are you willing to subsidise a little bit of the centralisation money to bring Nike UK? The vote was 11-1, unanimous within 4 seconds. Up yours, we'll all paddle our own canoe. Why should you try to bring this in? And he said, no, it's for the game. How much branding Nike can bring in and how much worldwide showing this sport off by Nike branding.
Is this at a club or are we talking Super League?
But the club level went to Super League meeting and put this brilliant thing across. And typically of our sport, it was self-gain on the individual. So all they said, well, it's self-gain of the individual. Do you get me? So it never got past the first 6 minutes of the meeting, which he was devastated about. He came back and went, I can't believe it. I've just had the biggest thing as well. Then it could have led on to sponsoring players. It could have led on to... I agree. Do you get me? But again, the way we think, and then people you're on about, Channel 4, you having Nike there would have brought a little bit of that up. Look at when they did the Arsenal Emirates, what they do, they bring the glamour. A sporting brand like Nike bring an whole new level of glamour to the sport. What do? Typically, what do we do? See you later, son. What do you know the second word? What's in it for me? Which other sport does that like we do? What's in it for me?
Well, I don't think there's any. Is there any other sports off the top of your head that all the owners of the clubs have the power? I don't think there's.
This is something where now,
where that's the case.
If Nike expressed interest now, IMG would just go, yep. So those days are gone. That's another
bit
chain.
like you say, Jimmy,
they're probably sick of
the attractiveness is...
Well, they're not.
I mean, we went 4 or 5 years ago, but...
I know a lot about the sports brands. I've tried knocking on doors for a long time now, and I know from everything I studied and jobs, all sports brands have budgets based on everything Channel 4 have said. And sadly for us, we've managed to get our players boots for numerous years. We had a deal with Mizuno. We've now got a deal with Puma. There is no budget for Rugby League with any brand unless it's a Rugby League specific brand. So everything we managed to get...
Shane Oxon's the only one really who's
that's a Rugby
doing
League
anything.
specific brand, but obviously that's not footwear. So
don't you find that sad, Craig? Jimmy,
it is. This is the reason I'm trying to tell you.
Shane's bringing a boot out.
Mizuno, we dealt with Mizuno for a long time. We had thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds worth of Mizuno boots. They're arguably still the best boot manufacturer in the world. Now, they think they might have got one sale on the back of it. Puma, who we now deal with, they sadly know that all the money has to go to football because Aguero in a Puma boot is worth millions.
Correct.
And that's sadly how it is. It all links into the same Channel 4 thing.
Argument,
that's just how it is.
Puma, Nike, they're not going to get involved in Rugby League.
But they have tried.
Because the demographic,
there's no
return on their investment.
There's no return on investment.
They have tried, and let me tell you, if we'd have had the salary cap up, we'd have had Sam Burgess in a pair of Pumas. It'd be a different game because over there they're selling millions.
No, I agree, Craig.
Let me finish. Over there they're selling millions of them. The player I've got now who's been talked about
because there's bigger
sport.
So he's been offered to go to the NRL, and part of the NRL deal is that he gets a sport, he'll get a boot deal. Part of his deal it would be that we will then introduce you to this branding, and you will get this boot deal from coming over here. It's part of the sale.
But Craig, comparing NRL to over
again,
here
because we lose the players. That's what I'm saying to you,
Mick. Because of the salary cap.
Because of the salary cap, and win back to source, and win back to that source. If you could see at some clubs, it's just very unfortunate for us. We always go to the lowest denominator. We'll always start our business plan at there instead of saying, I'd love for this show to come on, right? Let's say Mike Rush said he wanted to come on this show today. Mike had done a show for Matt Shaw on a thing, and I said, I thought it was a bit daft, so I will ask Mike later. But I'd love to get 3 or 4 of them on, and I'd love to sit there, you Mick, you dare do it, and you sit and ask
I'd do it. I'd ask him the questions.
You need to say to him, where would you take it? Now, what Matt did a journalist thing on Twitter, didn't he, saying that he's asked all the clubs, there's no thirst for a higher salary cap. I've got to challenge that because I want to see him in there, and I'd like to hear Warrington say against now and get the big 6 in and say, where do you want this sport to go? Would you be able to attract better branding, better this, better that if you were allowed cap? And have you got the money to put another $1 million, $2 million a year in? I would honestly say that because I know at least 3 investors in Rugby League who are waiting with triggers to put money in. They're dying to put money in. They cannot believe they can't put money in. Honestly, on my life, on anything that is not, please don't use it as a clickbait. There's 3 or 4 I spoke to from here to you, and he said, we would put this in tomorrow.
If they could
and what they're doing.
So just...
Give us a bit more of a background.
Yeah,
don't go on names, Craig.
No,
give me more.
He's saying that because he's saying it means come in as in if they come in and invest, they want to go and buy a Nathan Cleary to come over.
Yes,
I agree.
They don't want to put a 4-year plan into the academy.
Yeah,
Craig.
Unfortunately, that's not there to there. That if they're saying
That'd be at a later date, wouldn't it?
They're saying to get the ball rolling, so we attract all these big sponsors. I'll go and bring Jamal. I'll bring him here. And we've got 3 or 4 people in the sport who, if they were like, would go first class, business class to Australia tomorrow and sign 5 at top.
Right, I'm hearing you out now. So I'm trying to piece it together, as probably the viewers are. The salary cap's gone. Warrington, we'll use them. We know Simon Man's got the money. He goes over.
By the way, and his partners and the other.
Yeah. Simon.
No, didn't Simon.
Simon Moran.
Yeah,
his business partner.
Yeah. So they go over to Penrith. Mr. Cleary, Nathan, you're coming over. Boom, it comes. Right. What the broadcasters and what the advertisers are saying is still fundamentally the fan base, the audience who watch.
He knows that.
Yeah, but
this is how it
I
starts.
see I'm going to roll at you here because you're thinking through them eyes of yours, Richard.
Imagine, okay, Nathan Cleary turns up. Wait, listen.
But what the broadcasters are saying.
If Nathan Cleary turns up at Leeds Rhinos and does a big press release, who do you think's watching? The fans, but does that not attract a few multimillionaires to go, oh my God, Nathan Cleary's at Leeds Rhinos?
You've got it wrong. How does Leeds or Warrington signing Nathan Cleary generate confidence in the advertisers knowing that the demographic have no money? That's the point here.
Because the demographic will change.
Because you're giving them sponsors. You're bringing a superstar in.
Here we go. This is for you. Lovely viewers. Let us know. This is the question. You've heard the argument. You've heard my defence. I think, I'm sorry, I can't.
You don't think that brings in?
I think Mick, he's not saying it will solve it. He's saying
it would
for
help,
us to get to the end. Listen. For us to get to the end goal of having a new audience that are a slightly different demographic, something big has to change. And this is one massive thing which Craig firmly believes, and I agree with him, would only help this by releasing money, by letting people get in to attract people go, some of the top players in the whole world are now. It can only help this. It's one of many things.
I've got a counter though. I'll jump on Mick's course.
Super League would have to decrease. Super League would have to decrease in teams because no offence to Wakefield, no offence to Salford, no offence to Lee.
The lowest denominator.
You could not have a Super League of 12.
100%.
You couldn't even talk about bringing in your Newcastle or Bradford.
And if you made that 8 that strong and they went and let loose, right, and they made it into a best comp in the world and they started...
That is the only time I will agree with you, Craig, on this.
Then you say to somebody else down there, come and join us.
Because there'll be no fan.
Newcastle would get an owner.
Craig.
You know, let me tell you, Newcastle would find an owner and he'd go, I want some of that.
Well, Seymour might turn around.
Let me tell you why I know that.
I'm
going to tell you why I know that. Because Newcastle Football Club are wanting sporting brand. If they thought that Elite 8 were a Leeds, and it were all of the papers, it were all of the things, big stars arriving, all of the world private jets, They want a piece of that. Do you know why? Because it'd be change. It's still small change. They're still spending 38 million on a gamble on a left back. Yeah. So they could put 2 million into Newcastle, but you know why they don't want to? Because they look at it and they go.
And do you know what? As well, one little thing on this. I think some Super League teams now, some Super League clubs know that netball is catching rugby league like this, and 10 years, I think it'll be miles past. So what are Super League teams doing now? They're getting netball clubs involved because they know that could end up being a stronger part of the business. What Craig's saying is similar. A football team could spend half it'd spend on one player on a rugby league team as another little addition to go with it. I think he's right. The only way to get there is to do that. I can only see it helping. And then people who want to get involved, like Hollywood stars who buy Wrexham Football Club, and people with serious money who, for a fashion thing, want to own a football club, can go, do you know what, I might have a bash at rugby league because I can't afford a football club because I can't afford $500 million, but I have got 50 million that I can throw around. And that's where, for it to get to that level, to get this, for me, it can only help. It can only help when you start turning a few heads.
The only counter is that I'm going to jump on Mick's court. We've had Sonny Bill Williams in Super League
at 33.
Yeah, but still a megastar.
Yeah, but it's like when they come and watch Sonny Bill, we were there. Let me finish. We were there when Sonny Bill was there. I've never been as excited, but then we realised he couldn't run. He didn't have the legs.
But you were there. Sonny Bill.
It was Sonny Bill, but not.
We have a couple of megastars.
Do you know how much traction Sonny Bill got? Brian Noble told us on the show how much traction he got. It was crazy, Joe. Oh my God. He said every
discount.
No, Brian Noble said what it meant.
No. There's
it was Sonny Bill more traction to the game of rugby league on its own than any individual has ever done in the game.
And then he was a massive anticlimax. So if you get him at the right age,
I agree.
We've had little bits of it, but we've never gone to that level.
So if that actually has brought in a load of things,
you won't believe it. He said it brought in more.
How can it not be the answer?
It brought in more traction for Toronto. I'll tell you now, it brought more traction. It made more headlines worldwide than anything rugby league.
How can that not be the answer then, Mick? That's you've got a player.
That's when he was past it.
Past it. Come over from
you're getting too excited.
I'll get you one. I'm going to throw one at you. I'm going to throw one at you.
I'm trying to fundamentally say.
I'm going to throw one at you.
How does what I'm trying to say is how I get where you're coming from. Getting rid of the salary cap, more players from Australia. Hopefully the reversing the trend.
Keeping ours.
Let's get Whitehead back. Let's get Bayman back. Let's get Dong Young back. But what I'm saying is that enough? Is that enough to attract?
No, it's not enough on its own. It's a start.
It's a start
because what they're saying. What they're saying is
because Mick, even if your average demographic is at a certain point, it makes a massive difference for 2,000 people to watch a game than 2 million. Even if your demographic, even if your demographic is on the lower end of the middle class, lower working class.
Look, the rugby league demographic.
There's a massive difference between 200,000 working class people watching a sport.
I'll say this. Let me have this. And be quite honestly, this one not here for you. I'll give you 2 or 3 examples of what.
Is my point not getting?
We watched. Yeah, brilliant. You said I don't comment. Right. Boxing last night, in boxing fans' terms, hit a new low. Because £6 million were paid to.
Well, it certainly did.
Let me finish.
All my friends were going on about it all day.
So last night, hit a new low. They're saying the quality of that boxing fight last night.
Well, it was staged.
Was not great. Right, let me finish. So the Carl Froch, when he got asked him to be commentate on it in the boxing, you've never seen faces like it. They'll win. Because they can't believe that them
having to do such.
Their athletes, 16, 15, 11. Let me finish. Jesus Christ. They're saying that if you train for an 8-year-old to be a boxer, you can't get £3. You're at bills all over just to get you set on a bill. These lads who can't fight are now just got 3 million apiece in middle of Saudi. The reason the Saudis wanted them over is because they built their images up that much that they're wanting any sporting brand. So if they wanted Rugby League to do a game there, we'd have to have some big stars, either in social media world or sporting branding world. The name Fury against the name Paul sold the event. So then the reason they got it, they wanted to put it on there, they got the pay-per-view, they landed it, they marketed it perfect, right? Look at us now at the moment, right? We have nothing of that magnitude to even start. We wouldn't dare play a YouTuber on wing because he'd get absolutely minced. But maybe we should. Maybe each club should go and get a YouTuber and start off. I know.
State of Origin.
Let me finish.
Origin's got the same has got a chance to play around the world in America.
Yeah, forget about State of Origin. That note to us. So that's doing best for NRL. So there's a player here, what we're on about. I know for once that Owen Farrell's made it clear to certain people he would fancy a crack at Rugby League. Okay? Let's say that's true. At the moment, nobody could have really... Would anybody go for Owen Farrell? Because the Saints
not with a salary cap.
With a salary... Or even if it's a marquee, would they go for him? Let's say Warrington would, right. So I think at the moment, if somebody brought Owen Farrell in...
Lee need a half.
And we let loose, Mick, let loose the other teams and they went, right, this is what happens when football did it and when other sports do it. We've got Owen Farrell. Owen Farrell, what does he come with, Owen Farrell? I'll tell you what he comes with. The Brandon I were talking to said Owen Farrell left them to do a deal with another boot company, which was in the region of 150 to 200,000. He hasn't got it yet. It's still existing contract. But the branding and what Owen Farrell brings alone is bringing top national, worldwide sporting brands to your sport, which will give it loads of... Yeah. What else does he give? Well, he gives every single person... The only time I got asked about Rugby League when Sam Burgess went, off Rugby Union people, they kept saying, "Who's Sam Burgess?" Everywhere I went, "Who's Sam Burgess? What is he like? What's Sam Burgess like?" Suddenly, Rugby League got mentioned on the back of Sam Burgess. An individual carried Rugby League into the southern hemispheres, as in it. So let me say this to you. On my life, this is my wish for the game, and if he did it for 2 years, I'll not say another word. Find a way of saying to every club who can spend it, who can say it, I want you all to go and get this marquee player. And we said a marquee player. I don't mean it making an offer to an English player to keep him here as a marquee player, even though I love that. But let's say you can all bring in somebody to help enhance this. And the clubs that can afford to do it. I think if they did that, Mick, just once, the game had changed forever. That's probably the magnitude.
But we do have the marquee rule, and there's not a cap on that.
But there's not a thirst to do it against what else is going to do it. So let's say Warrington at the moment have probably done it more than anybody. Would you say Warrington? Yeah. If I said to you who's best marketed side in UK, what would you say? Leeds. That's historic. You'd say they'd market themselves better than all.
Yeah.
Warrington.
Yeah, them two.
I'd say Warrington then Leeds. So Leeds have got more.
St Helens as well up there as well.
Only because of what they do on the pitch.
Field, yeah.
I'd say off the pitch. That's not there.
But St Helens on-field achievement gives them that
the right
exposure. Yeah.
So you've mentioned 3 clubs. Anybody else? Degsy, as a go.
Lee are doing it a little bit different, but the thing with Lee and the Lee Leopards rebrand is, as Fitzy, when I went to his office, that's only cutting through in rugby league circles. Lee Leopards is not getting into the sporting circle, so we're just stuck in rugby league circles.
He's having a go in it.
Degsy is doing all he can.
No, he is Craig, but sadly, it's not breaking through the rugby league.
Yeah, but I think if Lee come in the top...
Oh no, I think Warrington have.
If Lee got in the top 4, I think they'd start to break in.
Fitzy told me when they had Wolfie the other year at the Crucible, and it were on BBC, that... It was effectively Rugby League on the BBC, Super League on the BBC, because you had Wolfie and Crucible wearing all Warrington kit with sponsors. Fitzy said that took us out of the Rugby League bubble, the sporting bubble, and it actually made it in the sort of national consciousness, because there were all these viral clips. Oh, look at this Warrington mascot, the Wolf, he's potting balls against Steve Davis or whatever we're doing.
I would say Ulkiar are trying to change their historic look.
Rep.
I would say at the moment Ulkiar are in a lot of good places for marketing. They're actually trying their best to try and implicate it higher than it has been for 25 years. Ulkiar have been known as this old-fashioned Hull side of Ulkiar, historic, same support of big. But I think they've changed. I think now they're starting to get with it. They're starting to.
Bit cool.
And all the clubs, by the way, massive thank you to all the clubs that have made more effort on YouTube, more effort on social media. It's amazing at the moment.
And that goes through to
I just started doing
Insta
Insta last week, and all I see is Rugby League on my thing. It's massive. It is everywhere. That thing where you can watch a try within 10 seconds now is just beyond belief. I watched about 5 tries yesterday on that. Have you seen it on Insta? So they've got
It's
this.
on every social media.
Oh, there you go. Well, it's amazing. It just comes up and you're watching a try in Australia, you're watching a try at Leeds. You're like, oh my God, how good's that for people? So we are trying.
And the Championship clubs as well are doing amazing as well.
100%.
Like, doing an awful lot.
But I'm saying now is, we've got to take that to the highest denominator of it. We've got to say that, right, we've just mentioned 6 clubs. What about them 6 clubs, Mick, who don't give, or we're just... I don't think that's going to change. You said so. So let's go for an 8-man Super League. It's probably the only answer.
The only reason I said that was if you're going to get rid of the salary cap, those clubs, and we know who they are, who can't afford to spend the cap, there's going to be no attraction to fan base watching a Wigan, a Warrington beat a Salford, a Lee, or a Wakefield by 60, 70 points week in, week out.
But Lee would spend. Lee would spend just as much.
I think it would be a short-term disaster.
It would be.
But that's when someone goes, right, well, I can't do this any longer. It's got too big for me. It's like going out for if you go out for a meal with some people at your level, you're all right. If you go out for a meal to somewhere and the round's 10 grand, you're like, well, I can't handle that level. So then that club gets left. But then hopefully there's someone else who goes, I fancy a bit of that, who's at the higher level, and they come in. So it would be.
If it doesn't work, Dan, you cripple the sport. The sport's gone. That's the issue.
Well, that's what they've said for years. They've said that's balanced the sport to hold it. Now let me tell you this. Do you know Stuart, who was joined Warrington? Stuart's joined Warrington. I think he had we met him, Joe, didn't we?
Yeah, he owned the card factory.
The card factory. So Stuart's been.
Bromed? Is it Stuart Bromed?
I don't know.
No, Bromed's the. God, definitely not. So Stuart's come into the sport as a Warrington investor. I think he's now the chairman of the club. Simon might have thinking. Stuart got attracted. I'll tell you now, if we could have him on this show, and I'd love to, again, we probably need to do it so people understand when we're not making things up. Stuart would have gone to Warrington, right? What has he gone to Warrington? Simon's different. Simon Moran went to Warrington because he sat on the stand as a kid. And he always remembered it and never forgot. And he said, if I can earn money, I'd put something back into it. That's another level. He's just an absolute family fan of that club. Stuart's been brought in because of the razzmatazz, because he wants to get involved in a sporting club. And he chose Warrington because A, it might be logistically close to where he's at. C, I think it's the earthliness of the honesty of the Rugby League people. But I'll tell you now, a big thing of him being in, he wanted some razzmatazz with it. He just sold his business for 150 million, whatever, 200 million. He'd have wanted to get involved, and Warrington would have attracted him by the marketing. Oh, I like this, they're going somewhere. So all of a sudden, my name's Stuart, just sold my business for 200 million. I'd like to get involved with you. I'd like to come on the board. And they go, oh, why? Well, I like what you're doing. We think you're uplifting your marketing. We think it's the right brand at the moment. You're buzzing. You're going places. We've got bands, and we've got... That will attract the Stuart. Hull KR have never in the history of it. Neil Hudgell has financed Hull KR single-handedly for probably 10, 12 years. Amazing. He's the Simon Moran. Do you understand me? There's a bloke who is a supporter of that club for 40 years and has done it half at time. I do believe it, because he's took some stick over years, but he's done it because his family and he loves the roots of what it's done. And he said the same as Simon. When I were at my childhood, my happiness in my childhood with that red and white shirt on. That's what. So they don't forget. Them 3 investors who just come in, what do you think they've come in for? Because they've seen what OKR are doing. Do you understand me?
I understand.
Paul Aiken. Hey, Paul, I love what you're doing. It's getting a bit of this. Can we get involved? We've all got multiple. One of them's worth 150 million. Where do you want me to put some money? What do you want me to do to improve it? Can we bring some players in, Paul? What do you want us to do? These are the conversation these guys are having. Why do you think them 2 clubs have been attracting no investment and not the others? Let's be honest. Why do you think the others? Do you think I can tell you 6 Super League clubs who are dying to find an investor and they can't?
Well, we could probably name them: Salford, Wakefield, Castleford. Yeah.
Why do you think?
Well, there's lots of reasons, but I think you're leading towards the marketing and building the excitement.
Of course you are. Why have them 2 just announced new owners in the last 24 months? Why do you think them two clubs of all the clubs have invested in multi-million-pound people?
Probably people that have been there, like the experience, full KR, the hospitality behind where there's no stand.
Do you think if Hull KR were like they used to be with the marketing, used to be where the players and used to be, do you think they'd be wanting to get involved?
Not really, no.
They just left
Probably
Neil
the
to
same
it.
with Warrington, yeah.
Get your £1 million out of you, Neil, he'll sort it.
No, I agree.
So what I'm saying at the bottom of it will have a massive knock-on effect. If you do it, you will attract them people will come knocking at your door. I tell you now, Leeds Rhinos probably need somebody like that because Paul and Gary have done the custodian of Leeds for 20 years now.
Yeah.
But Paul's now at that age where he's probably thinking, not a chance of my piling any more of my pension fund in here. Gary's definitely not going to do it at his age. He ain't gonna. Gary didn't get his with financial investment because of what he didn't turn it into worldwide. So Leeds have probably got 6 or 8. But I tell you now, they'll be looking at the moment going, I don't know. Because of what they're seeing, they might be edging the bets. Do you get me? They might be Castleford. Listen, Castleford, Jack Fulton historically has owned the club for 20 years. I can't believe it. I actually pressed it.
On the supporter demographic, how does Rugby League, try and bring in a wealthier demographic? How does Rugby League effectively go from charity shops, Bucky's, Pound Bakery, Greggs, McDonald's to Jaguar, Rolex watches?
Why are you pointing towards us? None of us have got a Rolex on with about.
Oh, no, but let us know in the comments. Sorry, Craig.
Yeah. So Jack Fulton has owned Castleford Rugby League for 20 years. Jack probably at the end were looking for another person to come along and take it. His son, who I've met, lovely Ian, I think it's Ian, brilliant man, Ian Fulton, doesn't really want to put more investment into Cast Tigers. He's openly said it. That's him, his family done. There's a personal loan, what they'll want back if somebody comes in. The way Cass are at the moment, do you think people are going to, multi-million-pound people are going to come to Cass? No offence, I'm telling you, I love Mike Grant. What he's done to save that club and he's brilliant. But actually attracting a Stewart and attracting this multi-billionaire.
Not until the others have gone big first. That's the perfect club where someone who wants to be part of
Wrexham.
it. Yeah, that's one where, I need someone who's got a fan base, who's got this, where's the potential? It's like, I'm an Everton fan. Everton have finally got them after 10, 15 years of the bigger clubs getting them. It's that trickle-down effect, isn't it? Castle have to wait patiently until the others went big first. The easier sells.
You've got it. And if somebody saw what happened at Cass and say a multi-millionaire came to Cass and lifted it, right? Then you look at somebody who, poor old Michael Carter's looking at Waking. He needs somebody and he'll go, look what they've done at Cass. 12,000 every week, car fast full of Range Rover. I'm not saying away from the sport. I'm only answering your question on Channel 4, right? But then that will have a knock-on effect. People from all over the world now are investing in football, did do for the last 12 years because they saw what Man City did, they saw what Abramovich did. So they all want a piece of it. Yeah. Every bouncer who's got a few quid now tries to buy a football club. All over Europe, because they've seen what the highest denominator can do, Man City. Whoa, my God, look what could do. Why do you think they got him, the Saudis got in Newcastle? Why did they get involved? They've done it because of what happened at Man City, because of what happened here, because of historically how big Man United have been.
Well, it's like F1 was almost the first one, wasn't it? If you had money, you'd have an F1 team.
100%.
And just bleed your money of that. Now football and Wakefield would be next in line after Cass. And probably Newcastle would potentially be above both of those. And a London team. And that's why York might arguably be in a nice spot, because there might be 5 people sat in York with successful businesses.
Well, I think the demographic of York is probably what Channel 4 Sky want.
Of course, and there might be people there waiting, but when we can see the pathway, then we're ready to chuck the money in. But let's make it very clear, we absolutely do not want to lose any of the demographic we've got now, and we want that to grow. We just need...
I agree.
Joe said 20%.
We never want to lose the heart.
You can't, because that's the soul of the game.
You can keep the demographic, but if there's there's 20,000 people
that demographic,
watching it,
that working class demographic is always going to be there.
Yeah, but if you have 20,000 people watching, Channel 4 are judging it off the 20,000 and what's their demographic. But I tell you, Mick, if there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 million of that demographic, that argument quickly goes, because it doesn't matter.
But there isn't, though. The viewing figures for Channel 4 are around the £500,000 mark.
That's my point, but if they do...
And all the people watching on Channel 4 are from northern towns
doesn't
who don't have a lot of disposable spend.
But
That's what we're saying.
That doesn't matter if you bring in a load of stars. If you get every working class person in, it doesn't matter. You'd still have millions more money to go into the game. They'd still attract loads more people.
Because you've still got the demographic, Joe. They're not spending money. Like Jimmy said, he's got Puma.
Yeah, no, because
Puma sponsor Rugby League players.
200,000 people.
People do not have the money.
Well, they're doing for other things.
Exactly.
We're judging it on 200,000 fans.
They do have it for other
McDonald's,
things.
yeah.
We're judging it on 200,000 fans.
Just Eat were close to doing a deal under Robert Elston.
Judge it on 6 million.
Because if you're working class and you're skint, you buy loads of takeaways.
Yeah,
and that's why.
No,
that's why Just Eat were coming in.
If you get, listen, let's say we talked to the New Zealand Australian market. We for our little show in our little way, 10% of our viewing at the moment is Australia and New Zealand, Tonga and Fiji. We know it because we get the comments.
Yeah.
So Sam will probably tell you better, but I'm sure we do get this element now. We're enjoying the show. We get a lot of good comments.
And London.
That's probably one of our biggest growth markets. Would be to start. We said do an NRL show. Do this. We've been asked to do it. Probably Rugby League needs that at the moment. If you took a New Zealand, the top player in Tonga is not playing in Super League. So you're not going to get their audience. The top player in Fiji is not playing in our comp. The top player in Samoa is probably not playing that. The top player in Australia, definitely not. Top 50 are not here. Top 100 are not here.
The top Papua New Guinean is.
Yeah,
the top Papua New Guinean is.
Let's see how much your audience.
Mr. Kevin Appo.
Right, well, Kevin.
Well, just so you know, my radio figures have shot up since Kevin started playing for Bradford.
That's what I'm saying.
It's crazy.
Just answered your own question.
No,
that's it.
Seriously, Craig.
They don't bring in any money. That'd be the same as the Francis.
No, they're not getting me. He said Kevin Apple and his audience has gone up, right? Imagine if we start to bring their, what would happen to the audience viewing if we brought them stars in from all these countries?
No, because it wouldn't be the same as the France. That'd be the France deal.
It'd go up.
The same as France.
It'd go up, but
no, because the viewing figures don't scan because they're not watching it. In Australia, they do watch ours.
No, they don't.
They do.
They don't.
They do. They watch Super League.
They don't.
They do.
No, they don't.
David Featon told you. David Featon said you get the odd game, but he thinks it'll be different times.
Yeah, no, the terrible viewers, the viewing figures over there for here is bad.
Which I'm not surprised. When last time we had a top player who could bring the viewing figures over?
We've got a couple.
Well, look.
Well, currently we've got one of the best fullbacks in the world in Jack Wellsby. We've got some of the most.
An Australian.
We've got George Williams, who absolutely
I'm on about bringing the best Tongan.
It's all about Samoa.
To bring the viewing figures and then get the viewing figures, which you can go to Sky and get a better deal. They can get better money.
We had a couple of good Samoans.
Yeah, but we haven't got any top ones, have we? But the only problem with that is the top Samoan players are playing in the NRL.
This is going to be forever known as the show where Michael Carter keeps phoning Craig. Wigan 60, Wakefield 0.
I think thoughts are. I think Wigan needed it after a probably, as we said, disappointing loss last week to Hull KR. You know what I mean? They showed what maybe I said last week, didn't I? Being right again about
using the word "I" a lot in your show.
I'm trying to, because I'm trying to.
There's no I in team.
What's happened, you see, Craig? Me and Jimmy have got our championship partnership.
There is going to be.
It's
using I a bit.
I am, yeah. What's wrong with having an opinion?
When you didn't make a lot of teams as a kid, you started to say I, because you didn't get in any teams.
More than you, son. And I played tennis, something you could never play.
You didn't beat me till you were 17, son. So
come on, Joe. We'll
15.
You're off to the races,
but
you're delaying it.
I was 15, 16. How old was I?
Jimmy, you were there.
You were there.
I can't remember how old. I'm not.
You were 4 before he went
anywhere.
No, it wasn't. It was a year and a half before.
14.
I've got the photo. Actually, I've got the photo. I have.
Craig, your phone is pinging like I don't know what.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So go on.
Sorry, the microwave.
Wrong place, wrong time for Wakefield. Wigan were going to be anybody else in the
Wakefield aren't going to be judged similar to Newcastle getting bumped at Featherstone and Toulouse.
They felt the wrath of Wigan.
Exactly, yeah.
Slipped up week.
Next game, Huddersfield 16, Warrington 26. The Warrington juggernaut continues.
About this game.
Huddersfield late rally, but ultimately Warrington. Craig, is it their year?
I've had reports from the game. Apparently Huddersfield looked very, very good in attack. Warrington were that good in defence. apparently they took loads at it. Easton Masters looked very good. Kevin Nakarma looked very good. Some of the new signings, obviously Jake Connor didn't play, so they were I think they missed a couple of players. And also played, but apparently they showed a lot.
It's a huge statement for Warrington to go there and win in round 2.
We rushed. We spoke 90 minutes on Champ, and you boys were 10-minute discussions, and then we took him through Super League like it's selling plates.
Well, let me just say something now. If you weren't buggering off to the races, you could have done your own Super League show, but you're going to the races, and me and Jimmy are committed to Champ. So you're neglecting the Super League viewers.
Anyway, come on.
Craig, you wanted to say something on
Huddersfield
Warrington.
Warrington. We can do one separate later on in the week for this week. Right, yeah. I think what Warrington's doing is fantastic. I think Huddersfield, because they never got the first game, everyone was so interested to see how Huddersfield were going to go on. And actually, where do I think Huddersfield? I think we'll probably realise Warrington are even more. Huddersfield might not be a worse result as what they think. They might think we've just come against a team that are absolutely flying. And at the moment, again, 2 games in, ridiculous. People have been.
It was their first game.
People have been hammered for saying daft statements. Early
to give Ian Watson.
Well, I'll try and finish my daft statement, and then I.
When do you ever say the word we?
All the time.
Never.
Okay. We've looked at Warrington now. You know what? We're going to look at this 2 games in. Too early to say, but we'll say it. Serious contenders 100%. To Wigan and St Helens.
100%.
And the gap between them 3.
I can't wait for Warrington St Helens.
Can OKR hold on to the position? Can the Hulls? Can the ones who've won 2? But Mick, looking at what you're seeing, if OKR can get in that top 4, we got laughed at. But if they can, what an achievement!
Well, it was It was you. You said top 4. You deserve it.
Yeah.
You will be the king, and I will personally go to Burger King.
All the time.
Craig, I'll personally go to Burger King and I'll buy a children's Happy Meal, and you still get the Burger King crown. You can be the king because you said okay.
Well, I've done that
4.
on many occasions.
I'll happily eat humble pie.
But what I'm saying is, if they do, that's a fantastic achievement. But if you're looking so far, Huddersfield, a couple of people have tipped to win it. Or have tipped him to be up there.
Yeah,
Huddersfield,
top 4.
Get straight back on the horse. What I'm a little bit weary of, Mick, so far, and South. I'm not going to get this wrong.
Salford.
You did get
and actually, Danny Addy I met at the weekend. He said, "No, everyone gets it wrong, Craig. Don't let no one to that team because all the players get it wrong. Some say Salford, some say Salford.
It's Salford.
Yeah, Salford. So anyway, if you look at them again." There were periods of that game where you're looking and thinking, AKR better than we think. So I thought at half time, I was looking, thinking,
Salford
could put a big score on here. And there were little bits when I saw it. KR, as Joe said earlier on, the fitness levels of KR, the fitness levels and the belief in KR is really strong. Mick, it is without a doubt.
That was a great second half.
And people mentioned, they've got players out. We're not going to use that one. They had 4 players out from first
Correct.
game.
Yeah.
And they did what they did. So all the other teams, Leeds saying they've got players out, Huddersfield saying players, ridiculous.
It's how you deal with that adversity.
Because it's called a squad. That's what it's all here for.
Correct.
So, listen, the one thing you're looking at, and I'll say it again, Catalan's got a victory. There's a big gap in there. There's probably 4 teams here. And I don't want to get politically involved in that. But I tell you now, Mick, the gap from them top teams, if St Helens can do what they did against Cass based on coming back from what they've just been through. Oh my God. And then you look at what Wigan have done to what you told me to press that thing and I did it.
You've clearly not.
Well, is it time to go? Have you got?
You've killed us.
You know what? I wish I was going to the races this afternoon.
You don't know how to silence his phone.
You need a lot of money to lose with this.
That's right. I've been pressing right. Is it that?
Costs you a lot of money.
So I'll finish that bit. You ready? Sorry, Sam. We're doing your heading here, right? Is that I think even after round 2, guys, there's a massive gap, and we've probably done Super League based on all on the same cap. So they wanted it to be very close, and I thought last year at times, apart from Saints and maybe 1 or 2, it did level up. But I'm afraid to say, so far this year, there's a gap bigger than you will not believe.
Right. So what you're saying, Craig, is, and pretty much, I think we predicted this. You're saying, if we're looking at the gap, right, you've got the top tier clubs, Saints, Wigan, Warrington. Do you put Huddersfield Catalans in there, or do you just isolate them 3?
I think they're just just below WKR.
Right, so you isolate them 3. Then you've got a next clump of clubs: Huddersfield, Catalans, Hull KR, Hull FC.
I don't get involved in naming them. The thing is, there'd be one of them that I don't know if I'd put in that yet.
Hull FC.
It's not for me.
Right.
I'm not going to have that one.
So then you've then got your middle clubs, which is obviously, in your opinion, your Salfords and your Hull FCs, and then you've got your Castlefords.
Well,
your
and it's
Leeds
got
and
Leeds.
Wakefields.
The only thing that's changed for me is I was happy to say I think it's Wigan and Saints. I had Warrington and Huddersfield as a 13. I think Warrington had benefited from having that extra week. Huddersfield a bit cold. So still withholding judgment Huddersfield. I still would have to have him in 4th at the moment. The interesting thing for me is Warrington. And without getting too carried away, I agree. I think from what I saw last week and backed up this week, didn't surprise me. They look like they could mess around with Wigan and Saints. Huddersfield still might get there. I know Joe's still confident and no reason to think they won't. But Warrington are the team for me, but I didn't know if they would just be 4th, 5th. But now it looks to me like they are going to mix it with the top 2, as long as they keep Big Vaughan fit and they've got Josh Maguire to come in and they've got other players and the depth and Drinkwater making Williams far better. So they look to me the real deal this year.
I've from the eye test, from pre-season and the first 2 games of the season, I'm willing to say from the eye test, Warrington on my eye test, because I'll not rope you in with me with this big statement, Warrington are the 2nd best team in the league through my eye test so far. Saints won the World Club Challenge. I've got to have them. I've got to have them first. But
do you know what?
Let me have a go. And then it's... We've got an issue with that. Then it's, I think from there...
I think next week we'll each have a bell and...
Okay, now. And then I think the big ones for me is I still think Huddersfield are up there. They've not played together really in pre-season. They used a lot of young team. They've used mix and match trying to figure things out. That's the first time most of the starting lineup have played together, and they still missed a couple.
Including Jake.
Yeah, which is their big name signing. So they've missed their big name signing for using. I think the sad one so far has got to be the Leeds Rhinos, haven't they? So far, I think everyone had them in the top 6, and at this moment, they are not getting the top 6 at this very moment.
But we're 2 weeks in, and they're missing a plethora. Rowan, I think Rowan's really cool and calm about the situation they're in because he openly said in the interview they're not going to be at the best. They're not going to be.
I get 3 players out, Mick. That's it.
I get it. But I think Rowan will be under. The face can say 1,000 stories. I think for me again, I know we can't go too much early, but I do know in 17, when I saw Cass in the friendly against Wakefield before the 17 season, Gailey said to me, "We'll win it." I saw enough even against that Wakey side that they'd gone up levels. They had suddenly had this super team that were going to go and do it.
And you're saying Leeds?
We saw Warrington play Leeds pre-season, Leeds, and we went and we all came on. Mick Carr going, "Oh God, they were a lot better than what we had them down for." And I think now watching a few teams and watching what I'm seeing, unless there's some major players to come back, they will be coming next month or so. There'll be a pattern, and this pattern will be what they start to get, and the gap will get bigger.
Top 3 of me.
And then then you're right. Leeds will come back with some moves.
Yeah.
Degsy will go and invest $500,000 in. You'll get some moves that'll happen.
It's Leeds against St Helens on Friday on Sky Sports, and I'm shuddering at that because it's at St Helens, and yeah, you can talk about this World Club Challenge hangover, but I'll be honest, I don't think Leeds have got a cannon else chance of going there and getting.
Well, we're going to preview. We'll preview that week, and we'll preview some games. But I agree with you. Listen, Leeds could be 3-on-3. Wakey could go 3-on-3.
And the pressure's on.
And then you go.
And then the meeting next week.
Cass got.
Castleford are at home to Wigan.
So let's be honest, Cass could go 3-on-3. So suddenly,
and Lee are at Hull KR. So
Hull KR
are going to be 3-on-3.
And that gap, suddenly that gap's bigger than. Honestly, it's only starting.
And Paul Wakefield, they've got Huddersfield.
Yeah, but at least, if this week went that way, at least they're dragging Cass and. We're on about dragging Cass and Leeds with them. They're like, come here.
Can you imagine we get to round 4 or 5 and you've got Wakefield on no wins, Cass on no wins, and Leeds on no wins?
Well, you're right. I don't know why you're laughing.
You've got
The reason that can't happen is Cass play Wakey.
And you've got a top-
Wakey play Leeds.
And you've got a
Leeds doing that
top,
as well.
and you've got a top three of your. Yeah, it's almost like Yorkshire. You're at the bottom, Lancashire. You're at top.
Separate leagues, isn't it? Thank you.
Anyway, it's been the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. Don't forget, Monday evening, producer Sam, when's this going out? Tonight?
Today's cutting, it'll be...
Tomorrow.
Yeah, so you're probably gonna be watching this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So by this point, you'll have known what's happened between Widnes and Halifax on the Monday night, and you'll have known who the Challenge Cup draw is going to be. I'm looking forward to that. What are you saying on the Challenge Cup?
We're on our way to Wolverhampton races. Apologies for the thing is, we've got a horse with a chance mix, so I'm going to give it to our viewers.
No, say it, Craig, say it, because they can watch it.
Right. They can't back it, can they?
Yeah.
It's not coming out till tomorrow.
It's running today, the arse, isn't it?
Well, give us the name of the horse, and then we
No,
can.
it's tonight.
No, the show comes out tomorrow.
What time's it
Oh,
racing,
there you go.
Craig?
Stop.
What time's it racing?
6 o'clock tonight.
No, show what.
It would have come out
Sam
anyway.
could have just clipped that little bit up easy. It don't matter, it's not in the world.
Clip it. He's saying clip it. It'll promote the show.
You'll
Yeah.
have every
Go on.
fan hammering you for losing
Don't
them
matter.
money.
Craig, it's on you.
Like every.
Here we go, our loyal
He's
viewers.
willing to take a risk.
done it
Jim,
loads of
that's-
times.
Craig,
We've
show
done
me
it
the
loads
money.
of times.
He's advertising this week's show
That's fair play.
by
We've
giving
got
you a
back
chance to win some money.
Right, here we go for viewers of the full 80. We're all in this together. Me and Joe with the money are on the way to Wolverhampton to watch one of the White Rose Bloodstock horses. It's called H. Key Lales.
Oh, God.
And it's in the 6 o'clock, and at the moment it's 6-1, third favourite. We're on it. We're not looking back. We're positive. We're on it. We're going to have a bet. Hopefully when this show goes out, Sam's going to clip this, but hopefully we have a bit of fun. We come back next week, we've all got a few quid. If it wins, Craig Harrison's tipped it. If it loses, Joe and the money has. See you later.
You've not seen my face in the background.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us on the full 80. We'll see you next